What's with Jayden Daniels saying it's up to the doctors? I feel good. Otherwise, what's going on, man?
That's the truth. It's a medical decision. It's a real knee sprain that he's got. That's what kept him out last week. He was limited last Friday, limited Wednesday, Thursday, not on the field when reporters got out there today, although that was also the case last Friday. To this point, he's not been ruled out. It certainly seems like it's potentially headed toward Marcus Mariota starting against the Falcons on Sunday. And really, this is a long play if that's the case for the Commanders. Saying nothing ill about the Falcons, although certainly they were a team that, has struggled to this point in the season. They were terrible on offense last week, and we get into more of that a little bit later. But if you're thinking about the big picture goals of this team, the last thing you want to do is roll Jayden Daniels out there at 95% in week 4 against the Falcons and potentially jeopardize something. Dan Quinn's been very direct throughout the process that he's not going to be out there. Jayden's not going to play unless he can do everything. And to this point, Jayden Daniels has not registered one full practice since he suffered the injury 12 or whatever that was, 2 weeks ago. And so this is a situation where, again, he's not been ruled out, but certainly seems like it's trending toward him not playing this week. And that means Marcus Mariota is going to be out there throwing to people not named Terry McLaurin because he registered a third straight, did not participate in practice today. It's hard to imagine he's going to be out there this week. No surgery, not long term that we know of at this point for Terry McLaurin, but it does not sound like he's going to be able to go this week.
Yeah, I was going to ask, why does one see a core specialist for a second opinion on something that could be a quad? They're trying to figure out if it's something up here that refers to a quad muscle. I mean, not to turn you into a doctor here, but there's a lot of, I'm trying to wonder what's up with that.
I would put my internet doctor degree, my insider doctor degree on the line here and say, Rich, that the quad, the hip flexor, the core muscles, the groin, they're all interconnected. And so if you're having some type of pain in that general area, you want to get things checked out. The fact that he saw Dr. William Myers and did not have surgery, that's a pretty good sign that this is not a major long-term injury, because generally when people go see Dr. Myers, I'd say a high percentage of them end up having surgery while they're on that appointment. That's usually how things go, just because if you've got a core muscle injury, you want to get the surgery done as quickly as possible because it's not a fast type of a recovery. Dan Quinn's going to speak to the media shortly here. I would imagine he's going to address this as week to week for Terry McLaurin. But again, barring a real shock, I don't expect him out there on Sunday.
Okay, before we get to I guess we've done the knees. We don't have much of a head or shoulder. Let's do the toe. What's up with Brock Purdy? Does he start?
Sounds like it's headed that direction based on what the 49ers have said publicly and privately. Kyle Shanahan said on the radio yesterday that as long as he keeps feeling better every day, he should be good to go on Sunday. Brock Purdy has sounded the same tone. This was always, 2 weeks was kind of the baseline. It'll be 3 weeks on the nose come Sunday. A week ago, he potentially could have suited up. They just decided it wasn't really worth it at that time. Obviously this is not nearly as significant as the Joe Burrow toe injury. It's a different type of injury. It's on the bottom of the toe, the bottom of the foot for Brock Purdy. He also banged up his non-throwing shoulder in that same game. Mac Jones went out there and did a good job. Mac Jones also got so banged up in that game that he was limping around just trying to hand off the football to Christian McCaffrey by the end of it. So they gave all three quarterbacks, Adrian Martinez too, some first-team reps through the course of this week. But barring a setback, it does sound like we're trending toward Brock Purdy being out there as opposed to a Mac Jones revenge game against the Jaguars on Sunday.
And while we're on the injury front, who else is in your purview there that you think we should know about going into the weekend? Tom.
Well, Justin Fields is another one that seems like he's trending to be out there for Monday night against the Dolphins. He was a full participant in practice yesterday. The way that the concussion protocol is set up is it's 5 steps, 5 phases as they call it. Phase 4 is non-contact practice. He was able to do that and fully participate in everything yesterday. So that means the final step here is just clearance from an independent neurologist. Obviously, if he has a setback, if his body and his brain don't react well to the exercise, then, we're going to be in a different place. But a full participant 3 days, 4 days before a game usually is a sign that player is going to be on track. And so it seems like it'll be Justin Fields Monday night against the Dolphins.
Okay, so that's one of interest. What about the fact that the preseason PUP list means you got to miss 4 games? Looking over the steering wheel with the Texans in dire need of a better rushing attack, is there any shot of Joe Mixon coming back at all soon at all? What's going on with Mixon? Not a lot of people are throwing that name around. Tom?
Well, and there's been a sort of cryptic type of sense around that situation since he was first put on the non-football injury list back at the start of training camp. I would point to the public statements that the Texans have made. Nick Caserio has been asked about it, has basically just said, we'll evaluate him when the 4 weeks are up. D'Amico Ryans was asked about Mixon a week or so ago and spoke about him in the past tense, saying they missed the things that Mixon brought to the team, but they're moving forward. I would just tell you, Rich, I have not gotten the sense that Mixon is going to be back anytime imminently here, certainly not next week. Things can change, but there's no sense that the cavalry is riding in right now with Joe Mixon. So the Texans absolutely have a lot of things that they've got to figure out offensively. You know, it's kind of been a continuation through these first 3 weeks of the struggles they had last year. They were able to overcome those struggles to get into the postseason, to get into the playoffs, win a playoff game. But there's just been that sense of how do we get over the hump, and the changes they made in the offseason, including the offensive coordinator, to this point have not had the desired effect. Yes, having Joe Mixon out there, absolutely, from an energy standpoint, the physicality, the downhill nature of his game, all those things. They loved what they got from Mixon last year. When, remember, Rich, they got him in kind of a throwaway, low risk trade with a Bengals team that was planning to cut him if they couldn't trade him. Joe Mixon had a great year for the Texans. The fact he's not out there, it's one of the factors, but it's definitely not the sole factor. And there's a lot of things that the Texans are trying to figure out at this point on offense.
1-3 Baltimore. At 1-3 Kansas City, Tom Pelissero. Xavier Worthy is ready to roll. He's got a brace. Does not have a brace? What's the scoop with Xavier Worthy? Wait a minute.
Really quick, okay. I just got a text. Dan Quinn announcing DQ has ruled Jayden Daniels out. So indeed, he will be out for Sunday. Marcus Mariota gets the ball once again. With Xavier Worthy, this was a situation where once they knew that it wasn't a major long-term type of injury, the hope was sooner than later Xavier Worthy would be able to wear a harness, get out onto the field, and be able to play again. But there's an element of getting comfortable with the harness. Basically, when you dislocate your shoulder, and again, I'm going to put my insider doctor degree to work here. When you dislocate the shoulder, you tear ligaments, you tear the labrum, and it's going to be at risk of popping in and out. What the harness does is it keeps that thing from dislocating, but it can be very uncomfortable. There are players who have, a shoulder that subluxes or dislocates on a regular basis. They don't want to wear the harness because it's uncomfortable, because it changes just their ball carrying, how they're holding the football. So this was something where Xavier Worthy, they were hopeful last week he'd be comfortable, just wasn't comfortable by the end of the week. But this idea that this was a more severe injury or he could miss time, it was never really realistic. We'll see. He registered a full participation in practice. That's a really good sign that he'll be out there this week. They just want to make sure that he is comfortable. And Rich, I would say this. We've talked a lot about the Chiefs and what's ailing them, why the offense doesn't look the same. If they get Xavier Worthy back this week, and then 2 weeks from now, they get Rashee Rice back, who's already back in the building for them. That's your top two wide receivers. Take any team in the NFL, take away their top two receivers. It's going to be a challenge to be effective offensively. There's certainly other issues that they have to smooth out. Is Travis Kelce going to be able to find it here? Are they going to be able to run the football effectively at some point? But getting those top two wide receivers back by midseason, if they can just kind of surf through these next 3 games, win 1 or 2 of them, and be in position, there's no reason to think that the Chiefs can't put this thing together offensively once they're back to full strength.
Tom Pelissero here on the Rich Eisen Show. Breaking news, looking at his phone, focusing on the task at hand. It's incredible. He's just spinning plates right here. What else you got now?
Terry McLaurin is also being evaluated week to week. Doctors did not clear Jayden Daniels. So it's effectively exactly what I just said. So just go use AI and just have me say it firmly as opposed to it appears that.
Never.
To show that I nailed it
Never.
On the first time before Dan Quinn stepped in.
All right. Well, look at you, Tom. The natural intelligence of Tom Pelissero here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.